You've been told a story about age your whole life, a story that says you're too young to be taken seriously or you're too old to start over. And for too long, people buy into that nonsense. They let a number on a calendar dictate their ambition, their choices, their belief in what's possible. But let me tell you something, age is nothing more than a label, a meaningless statistic. It has no power over your dreams unless you hand it that power. The truth is, whether you're 18 or 80, your potential is determined by one thing, the decisions you make today. Look around you. The world is filled with people who refuse to let age box them in. A 70-year-old running their first marathon, a 50-year-old launching a business, a 30-year-old reinventing themselves after failure. They weren't special. They just made a choice to believe in their ability rather than in limitations imposed by society, and that choice is available to you right now. Because greatness doesn't care about your birth date, it cares about your energy, your commitment, your willingness to step up and take control. So the real question isn't, am I too young or too old? The real question is, am I willing to take action today? You know what's crazy? People walk around acting like their age is some kind of prison sentence. Like the moment they hit a certain number, they're either too young to be respected or too old to chase what they really want. It's like they've got this imaginary rule book in their head written by someone else telling them what they can and can't do based on how many birthdays they've had. But here's the truth. Age is just a number. That's it. It doesn't define you. It doesn't limit you. The only thing that does is your belief about what's possible. Think about it. How many times have you heard someone say, I wish I could, but I'm too old? Or I'd love to do that, but I'm too young. What does that even mean? Since when did a number determine your potential? The only reason people think this way is because they've been conditioned to believe it. Maybe they grew up in a household where their parents told them, that's not what people your age do. Maybe they heard it from teachers, bosses, or even society telling them to stay in their lane. And over time, they accepted it as truth. But that belief, it's not real, it's not some universal law, it's just a limitation created in their mind, and limitations only have power if you let them. Look at the world around you. It's filled with people who refuse to let age dictate their story. There are kids in their teens building businesses that make millions. There are people in their 50s, 60s, even 70s starting over, launching companies, running marathons, writing books, living their dream because they chose to believe that their future is bigger than their past. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't ask if they were the right age. They just made the decision and took action. Because that's what it comes down to, decision. Every day you have two choices. You can accept the story that age equals limits, or you can rewrite it. You can decide that no matter how young or old you are, this is your time. You can decide that experience is an asset, that youth is an advantage, that whatever stage of life you're in right now is the perfect time to go all in. And if you're sitting there thinking, but I don't know if I have what it takes, let me tell you something. Age has nothing to do with ability. It has nothing to do with intelligence, creativity, or drive. It's not your age that determines your success. It's your hunger. It's your willingness to push past excuses, to show up every day, to get uncomfortable, to put in the work. That's what creates results. That's what builds momentum, not some number on your driver's license. So the question is, what are you going to do with that information? Are you going to keep letting society's made-up rules hold you back, or are you going to make the decision right now that you're done playing by those rules, that you're done making excuses, done waiting for permission, done believing in limits that were never real in the first place? Because if you make that decision, if you truly commit to it, then I promise you, your age will never be a factor again. The only thing that will matter is how badly you want it and what you're willing to do to make it happen. There's something that happens when you start to believe in age as a limiting factor. Society has built this idea that success is for the young, that time is running out, that if you haven't made it by a certain age, you might as well give up. It's a dangerous lie, a lie that too many people buy into. They let it eat away at their potential, telling themselves, I'm too old for that, or I missed my chance. But here's the truth. Success doesn't have an expiration date. Your dreams don't have a timeline that's set in stone. The only timeline that matters is the one you create. The stories that we tell ourselves are often the most limiting. When you start saying, I'm too old for this, or I don't have enough time, you're building a wall in your own mind. And the thing about walls is, They're easy to climb over, but only if you realize that they don't really exist in the first place. You've been fed these beliefs, these thoughts that someone else came up with, and now you've accepted them as truth, but they're not your truth, they're just thoughts. Thoughts you have the power to change. Think about how many times you've seen someone defy the odds because they decided to rewrite the script. Look at the story of Colonel Sanders. He was 65 when he started KFC. Can you imagine what would have happened if he believed the world's version of too old? But he didn't. He saw his experience as an asset, not a limitation. The same goes for Vera Wang, who didn't design her first wedding dress until she was 40, or Samuel L. Jackson, who didn't become a movie star until he was in his 40s as well. The list goes on. These people didn't let age tell them what they could or couldn't do. They took their experiences, their unique perspectives, and used them to fuel their success. But it's not just about people who've had extraordinary success late in life. It's about you, right here, right now. Maybe you're in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, or even older. Maybe you feel like you've already lost precious time. But let me ask you, how much more time will you lose if you don't start today? Because the longer you wait, the longer you tell yourself it's too late for me, the further away your dreams get. Time is a great excuse, but it's also a liar. We all have 24 hours in a day. We all have the same amount of time to make things happen. It's not about how much time you have, but how you use it. Now, I know it can be scary. It's easier to just accept the status quo, to stay comfortable, to let the clock keep ticking and believe that the window of opportunity is closing. But the moment you give into that fear, the moment you buy into the lie that it's too late, is the moment you lock yourself in a box. And that box doesn't just keep you safe, it keeps you small. Yeah, it keeps you from experiencing the greatness that's inside of you, the potential that's ready to be unlocked. But here's the deal. You don't need to make some grand leap to start. You don't need to suddenly transform overnight. You just need to start. The first step might be uncomfortable. It might seem small, even insignificant, but it's not about the size of the step. It's about the direction you're moving. It's about taking that first action, making that first decision to step out of the comfort zone and into your potential. Because once you start moving, once you start taking action, the momentum builds. It's not about what you've already done, but what you're willing to do right now. If you're still holding on to that belief that your time has passed, that it's too late, think about this. There are people out there who are exactly where you are right now, but they've decided to take control of their narrative. They've decided to push through the fear, ignore the limiting beliefs, and focus on the actions they can take today. And because of that, they are creating the life they want. It's not magic, it's not luck, it's simply the power of belief and the power of action. Age is not a reason to stop, it's not a reason to quit, it's a reason to bring all of your experiences, all of your knowledge, all of your lessons to the table and create something incredible. Because when you let go of the belief that time is running out, you open up an entire world of possibility. And the only thing that will hold you back from that is the story you tell yourself. So ask yourself today, what story are you telling yourself? Is it the story of limitations or is it the story of potential? Are you ready to rewrite that story and create a future that's defined by your action, not your age? Because the second you decide to believe in your own potential, you've already won. You've already taken the first step toward a life that's bigger than your past. You've been fed a story your entire life. Maybe it came from a parent, a teacher, a mentor, or even society as a whole, that there's an age when your best years are behind you. But let me tell you something right now. That is a lie. Look around and you'll see that the most extraordinary people, the ones who've made the biggest impact in the world, are often those who refuse to buy into this idea. They didn't listen to the world telling them that their time was up. Instead, they became proof that age is just a number and that greatness doesn't care when it arrives. Take, for example, the story of Steve Jobs. He was fired from the company he built, and yet, years later, returned to Apple and revolutionized the world with the iPhone, iPad, and more. This man was in his 50s when he made some of the most iconic innovations in modern history at a time when many would have thought his best years had passed. If he had listened to the voices telling him his best work was behind him, who knows where we'd be today? But he didn't. He chose to push forward, to keep innovating, and he changed the world. And there's more. You know, the Colonel Sanders, the man behind Kentucky Fried Chicken, didn't start his business until he was 65. Think about that for a moment. 65, most people at that age are thinking about retirement, but not him. He had a dream and he was determined to make it happen. Imagine if he had listened to the voices that said, you're too old to start now. Instead, he got up, took action, and created one of the world's most successful fast food empires. The truth is, there are countless examples of people who didn't let age stop them. There are people who started businesses in their 60s, 70s, and even their 80s. There are writers who didn't publish their first book until later in life. Artists who found their calling after decades of wandering. Athletes who set world records when they were told their time had passed. They prove, without a shadow of a doubt, that your age doesn't define your potential. Your willingness to keep going, to keep learning, to keep evolving, that's what defines you. Here's the thing. You don't need to look to others to find the proof. The truth is within you right now. Every day you have the chance to break through your own self-imposed limitations, to rewrite the story you've been telling yourself about what's possible. Because it's not the years behind you that matter, it's the passion and drive you have in the present. It's the fire inside of you, the hunger to do more, to be more. That fire is timeless and it doesn't fade unless you let it. Sure, we all face challenges, and sometimes those challenges seem tougher when you feel like you're running out of time. But here's the secret. The more experience you have, the more wisdom you bring to the table. Experience is not a burden, it's an asset. You've learned things over the years that others can't buy or manufacture. You've faced obstacles, overcome failures, and gained a perspective that the young can't yet grasp. And when you combine that experience with the power of a relentless mindset, there's nothing that can stop you. You've got to stop letting age be a reason to hold yourself back. When you look at the lives of those who've achieved greatness, you realize that it's not the age on their birth certificate that mattered. It was their ability to evolve, to adapt, and to keep going when everyone else told them to quit. They understood that the best time to start anything is right now, and they didn't let anything stop them. They chose to be the proof that age is irrelevant. You see, the opportunity to change your life, to start something new, to make an impact isn't tied to your age, it's tied to your mindset and your willingness to act. The stories of those who've broken age barriers are not outliers, they are the blueprint for what's possible. And what's most powerful is that you can follow that blueprint too. So what's stopping you? What are you waiting for? You've got everything you need to begin right now. The experiences you've had, the lessons you've learned, the insights you've gained, they've all prepared you for this moment. It's not too late for you. Your best work, your most impactful contributions could be right around the corner. But you've got to make the choice today to start, to push past the stories you've been telling yourself and step into the greatness that's waiting for you. The idea that age has the power to limit your energy or your drive is one of the most dangerous myths out there. People think that when they get older, they lose their vitality, they lose their enthusiasm, their passion for life. But the reality is, your energy has nothing to do with the number of years you've lived. It's about the fire inside of you, the hunger, the passion, the commitment to keep pushing forward no matter what stage of life you're in. If you've got the right mindset, if you've got the right belief system, your energy won't just sustain you, it'll fuel you in ways you never imagined. Here's something you need to understand. Energy doesn't come from your age. It comes from your focus, your purpose, your desire to make something happen. People often get stuck thinking that because their body isn't as young as it used to be, or because they're not as fresh as they once were, they can't maintain the same level of energy they had in their 20s or 30s. But the truth is, passion can generate more energy than anything else. When you're deeply connected to your purpose, when you're doing what you love, your body follows suit. It's like a car that gets better performance when it's running on the right fuel. Now think about the difference between someone who's excited about their life and someone who's just going through the motions. The person who wakes up excited to get after their goals, who feels a sense of purpose and determination, doesn't need to be reminded about how old they are. They're too busy living. They've tapped into a higher level of energy. But the person who wakes up dreading the day, who feels drained by the thought of the work ahead, will tell themselves that their best days are behind them, that their energy isn't what it used to be. But what they don't realize is that the energy they're missing isn't related to age. It's related to their focus and mindset. Your energy is directly connected to your passion. If you're feeling sluggish, if you're lacking that drive to get up in the morning, it might be time to ask yourself if you're truly aligned with your purpose. Are you doing what you're meant to do? Are you pursuing the things that light you up? Because when you're living in alignment with your deepest desires, when you're on the path that feels right for you, your energy will be limitless. It's the people who are willing to dig deep, who are ready to face the challenges head on, who are living with fire in their hearts. That's where the real energy comes from. They don't let anything, not even age, get in the way. They wake up every morning with purpose, and that purpose fuels them for the day. So they don't look at their calendar and think, I'm too old for this. They look at it and think, I'm not done yet. It's also important to recognize that energy is a renewable resource. You don't lose energy the way you lose a dollar bill in your wallet. Energy comes from movement, from taking action, from doing the things that matter. And when you take action, when you push yourself, when you commit to your goals, you tap into that deeper well of energy that exists inside of you. And this energy isn't based on how much sleep you got the night before or whether or not you've been to the gym every day. This energy comes from your purpose. It comes from the why behind what you do. People will often tell you that your best energy is behind you, that you've already used it all up. But what they don't know is that energy doesn't run out unless you stop. It doesn't disappear unless you give up. It doesn't fade unless you stop believing in what's possible for your life. So ask yourself, what would happen if you chose to focus your energy on what truly excites you? What if you tapped into that passion and channeled it into everything you do? What if you made the commitment to put your energy into the things that truly matter to you instead of wasting it on fear, doubt, or things that don't serve you? The moment you make that shift, when you decide that your age doesn't matter, that your energy is determined by your focus and your drive, that's when everything changes. That's when you tap into an energy that goes beyond what your body tells you. It's the kind of energy that can propel you toward your dreams, no matter where you are in life. The power to change, the power to achieve, the power to grow. It's not limited by age. It's driven by your commitment to your purpose and your willingness to put in the work. So remember this, age is not the thing that determines your energy. Your purpose is, your passion is, your hunger is. And when you decide to tap into those things, you realize that your energy is as boundless as your ambition. The power of reinvention is one of the most extraordinary tools we have at our disposal, and it's a tool that anyone at any stage of life can use. Too many people get stuck in this idea that once they've chosen a path, once they've followed a career, once they've built their identity around something, it's too late to change. They think that their journey has already been written, that it's too late to try something new, to take a different direction. But here's the truth. It's never too late to reinvent yourself. You can begin a new chapter, learn something new, or transform your life at any time. In fact, the beauty of reinvention is that it doesn't require you to be perfect from the start. It doesn't require you to have everything figured out. It simply requires you to have the courage to begin, to take the first step. No matter how uncertain or uncomfortable it might feel, reinvention is a process, and the process doesn't have an expiration date. It's not reserved for the young or the brave or the lucky. It's available to everyone. Take a moment to think about the people who have made incredible changes in their lives after what many would consider too late. Look at the example of Martha Stewart, who didn't find her true calling as a business mogul until she was in her 40s. Or take the story of Ray Kroc, who didn't become the face of McDonald's until he was in his 50s. These people didn't wait for some magical moment to begin reinventing themselves. They made the decision that their past didn't have to define their future. They didn't let age stop them. They let passion and determination drive them. And that's what it comes down to for you too. Maybe you've been in a job for years that doesn't fulfill you. Maybe you've been following a path that doesn't feel true to who you are anymore. Maybe you've always wanted to learn a new skill or start a new business, but the idea of changing direction feels intimidating, or you tell yourself it's too late. But think about this. Every day you wait, you're missing out on the potential that reinvention offers. Reinvention doesn't mean erasing everything you've done before. It means taking everything you've learned and applying it in new ways. It means using your experiences to fuel your next chapter, to create something bigger, better, and more aligned with who you are right now. You're not starting from scratch. You're building on everything you've already achieved, the knowledge, the lessons, the successes, and the failures. All of these things give you the wisdom to move forward and make your reinvention more powerful than ever. In fact, your past doesn't hold you back. It's your greatest asset. Everything you've gone through has prepared you for this very moment, whether you realize it or not. Your reinvention is an opportunity to take what you've learned and apply it in a way that serves your next stage of growth. And here's the beauty of reinvention. It's not just about changing careers or starting a business. It's about personal transformation too. Maybe you want to become a healthier version of yourself. Maybe you want to improve your relationships, develop new skills, or adopt a new mindset. The process of reinvention isn't just external, it's internal. It's about growing into the person you've always known you could be. Now, I know that change can feel overwhelming. It's easy to get caught up in the fear of the unknown or the idea that you don't have what it takes. But here's the thing, reinvention doesn't need to happen all at once. It's not about making a huge leap overnight. It's about taking consistent small steps toward the life you want. Every step you take, no matter how small, moves you closer to the person you're becoming. And as long as you're moving forward, you're making progress. Reinvention also requires one crucial element, courage. It takes courage to acknowledge that you're ready for something different, and it takes courage to take the first step, even when you're uncertain about what's ahead. But the truth is, the only way to know what you're truly capable of is to step into the unknown, to stretch beyond your comfort zone, to see what happens when you make the decision to evolve. There's no expiration date on reinvention. There's no time limit on your ability to change your life. The world is full of people who started late, who had setbacks, who faced challenges, and yet they created incredible things because they embraced the power of reinvention. It didn't matter how old they were or how long they'd been on their current path, they made the decision to take action, to create something new, to write their own story. So if you're feeling stuck, if you're thinking it's too late to try something new, remember this. The power of reinvention is in your hands. You can start fresh at any time. You can create a new path. Your potential isn't limited by your past. It's limitless. The only thing holding you back is the story you tell yourself about what's possible. And the moment you change that story, everything else begins to change too. One of the biggest obstacles people face when it comes to reaching their full potential is the fear of failure. And let's be honest, failure is something that everyone tries to avoid. We've all been conditioned to believe that failure is something to be ashamed of, something to hide away from, and that if you fail, you've somehow failed in life. But the reality is, failure is not the enemy. It's a vital part of the journey to success. If you want to tap into your true potential, if you want to achieve things you've never imagined, you must embrace failure, not fear it. When you start to reframe failure as a necessary step, as a learning experience rather than a setback, that's when everything begins to change. Think about all the greats in history, the ones who revolutionized industries, created breakthroughs, or left a lasting legacy. Do you think they reached their level of success without failure? Of course not. They failed more times than most people will ever try. But what set them apart wasn't that they never failed, it was that they learned, adapted, and kept moving forward despite the failures. One of the best ways to look at failure is through the lens of growth. Every time you fail, you are given a gift. That's right. Failure is the most honest feedback you'll ever get. It's a signpost that tells you this didn't work, but here's what you can learn from it. Each failure teaches you something invaluable. It shows you what doesn't work so that you can refine your approach and try again with even more knowledge than you had before. So when you fail, you're not losing, you're learning. You're gaining experience. You're building your resilience. Failure also helps you build one of the most powerful things you'll ever need in life, mental toughness. Think about it. If everything came easy, if you succeeded every single time you tried, would you truly appreciate your success? Would you have the fortitude to overcome bigger obstacles in the future? Probably not. It's through those moments of struggle, through the moments of failure, that you build the strength to push through anything that comes your way. And the best part? The more you embrace failure, the less it has the power to knock you down. You see, what holds most people back is not that they're afraid of failing, it's that they're afraid of what other people might think if they fail. There's this narrative in our culture that failure is something to be embarrassed by, that it's something to hide. But in reality, it's the most powerful tool for growth you have. Every time you try something and it doesn't work, you're one step closer to finding what does work. Every time you learn from your mistakes, you're getting closer to your true potential. Let me give you an example. Think about Thomas Edison. He didn't just invent the light bulb in one shot. In fact, he failed over 1,000 times before he succeeded. And when asked about it, he didn't say, I failed 1,000 times. Instead, he said, I have not failed. I've just found 1,000 ways that won't work. That is the mindset you need if you're going to tap into your full potential. The moment you stop seeing failure as a dead end and start seeing it as an opportunity to learn and grow, that's when you stop being afraid of it. That's when you stop letting it hold you back. But here's the thing, fear of failure doesn't just come from external pressure. It often comes from within. It's the voice inside your head telling you, what if you fail? What if it doesn't work? What if people laugh at you? But here's a question to ask yourself. What if it does work? What if you succeed? What if you learn from every single failure and continue moving forward until you reach your goal? That's a possibility that's just as real, if not more real, than the fear of failure. It's important to realize that failure doesn't define you. It's not a reflection of your worth or your ability. It's simply a stepping stone on the path to your greatness. You are not your failures. You are the sum of how you respond to them, how you rise after each setback, how you keep going no matter what. The fear of failure will always be there, but you have the power to decide how you react to it. Do you let it paralyze you? Or do you use it to propel you forward? Do you let it control your life, or do you control how you face it? Every successful person has faced failure, but the difference is that they didn't let it stop them, they let it teach them. So when you're thinking about pursuing something that excites you, when you're thinking about stepping into a new chapter, remember this. Failure is not something to avoid, it's something to embrace. It's the signal that you're pushing your boundaries, that you're trying something new, that you're learning and growing. And the more you embrace failure, the more you will realize that it has no power over you. The only thing that can stop you is your decision to quit. And as long as you keep learning, growing, and moving forward, there's no limit to what you can achieve.